IVM.
Hello and welcome to a brand new episode of the Musafir Stories, India's very own travel podcast, where each week we share the journey of travelers in their own words and relive their experiences with you, our listeners.
Hi guys, I'm your host Saif, and on today's episode, we have a very special guest with us, Vijay Sharma from the blog TravellingCamera.com. Sometimes, experiences, places, thoughts and sights are so difficult to describe in words that you wish you could replay them easily, and photographs are just one easy way to relive those beautiful memories. That's how Vijay's traveling camera was born. So without much ado, let's hop onto the episode and find out more about Vijay and his photo blog. So with that introduction, I'd like to welcome Vijay Sharma from the blog Travelling Camera. Vijay, thank you so much for being a part of the Musafir Stories and welcome to the podcast.
Hi Vijay, welcome to my Musafir Stories.
Thank you guys.
Vijay, the introduction that we gave about you is very concise, so why don't you go ahead and tell our listeners a little about yourself. Also, please let us know when the travel bug with you.
Okay, so I think let me start with how this started. So basically, I like traveling, and initially it was like during the weekends I just pack my bags and go to some destination, and then when I come back, I basically share my photographs or something that sort. And I found a website called Gumakkad where I started sharing my travel stories. Gradually, I found that after every travel, I cannot really write a lengthy post on website like Gumakkad. So the founder of Gumakkad suggested, because your forte is more into visuals, why don't you start something which is more driven by your photographs, some sort of photo journey which you can share with people, and that can be inspiration for many. So if you look at my earlier blogs, those were mainly image heavy, and there was very few text lines with them. But gradually, when people started going through them, they were not really getting appropriate information in terms of if they want to go to those places, how do they plan those, all that stuff. So gradually, I started adding some text, but not like so. Still, I would say that it's the focus is mainly on the visuals, and text is mainly to help my viewers to understand what I did there, what I recommend. What are the things that probably you can skip?
Excellent. So with that introduction, what we usually do is whenever we have traveler over each episode, what we do is we request them to take us on a journey and share their journey and the entire length of that itinerary, from how you got there, how you prepared to get there, what you did, what you saw, and at places to avoid as well, because even that helps a long way when you're short on time. So things like that, basically the A to Z of that destination. Having said that, where are you taking our listeners today?
Okay, so basically I'm talking about a trek which I did in 2008.
Okay.
And this trek is in Himachal, and this overall experience is very close to my heart, and I want to repeat it. I couldn't repeat it in the last you can say 9 years. So we will talk about this trek. This was like we took it very lightly, but it was pretty difficult. It's considered as one of the difficult treks in India, in fact. So I'll talk about Shrikhand Mahadev, which is in Kullu region of Himachal Pradesh.
Excellent. So give us a little bit more of a background about it. Why the Shrikhand Mahadev trek? Like, how did that happen?
Okay, so basically, one of my friends, he called up and said that this is the month of July and August, and this is the only time when Shrikhand Mahadev trek opens up, because you have to cross through some of the mountains covered with snow. So before July, it's sort of impossible to reach the peak. So he said that why don't we plan this, and he came up with estimates of like 3 days. So he said that we need 3 days to climb up and come down, which means that we need at least 5 days. One to from Delhi to the base, which is Jaun village. It's basically, I think I would say, approximately 100 kilometers from Shimla. and 1 day to come. So basically we estimated for 5 days to do this trek, but we ended up with like 5+2, we spent 7 days during the
Oh my
trek.
God.
So it started with yeah. So basically it started with very casual telephonic conversation, and we started the trek in, I think, 2 to 3 days. So we had a conversation on Tuesday, and we started from Delhi on Friday, and that's how it happened.
Oh, that seems like a short turnaround. So tell us a little bit more in terms of preparation, because you did mention that this is one of the more difficult treks, right? It's definitely not easy or moderate. So tell us a little bit more about preparation. Were you guys already into trekking at that point, or how was this?
Okay, so we used to trek, and since we had done a lot of treks, but I would say easy and moderate treks, like in north, or especially in Himachal, there is a Triund, which is very basic trek near McLeodganj. Then there are treks like Chamunda, which is, I would say, moderate trek, wherein you can reach the peak by end of the day if you start early in the morning, like 2-3 a.m. But we hadn't done any multi-day trek so far. So there were two parts to it. One part is this is a pilgrimage trek, which means that during this time, a lot of local people also go to that peak. And this peak is considered as very, auspicious. There is a huge rock on top of the mountain, which is considered as Shivlinga.
Yeah.
And a lot of local folks go there. So the advantage was that we didn't have to spend time in terms of navigation and all that stuff. So we were expecting that we'll find people who will guide us, that where to go, how to stay, and all that stuff.
Okay.
And in fact, on the way, there are places where you get tents on rent. So basically, we didn't have to really plan for, sleeping bags and tents and all that stuff. But I think we goofed up big time in terms of estimating the trek and its difficulty level. Plus, how should we plan the food part?
So, would you just give us a sense in terms of what your backpack had? I know you mentioned that you were a bit underprepared for this trip, but what are some of the absolute basic necessities that you have to have in your backpack while on this trek?
Okay, so I would say fundamentally for any trek, we try to pack minimum stuff when it comes to clothing or general stuff, but pack a little more when it comes to energy bars or food items, right? So during Shrikhand, what we did, we probably for 3 days, we had 2 pairs of clothes, one we were wearing and one in the bag. And apart from that, we had, every one of us had one bottle of water, like 1.5 liters. And we had few packets of glucose, which is very important in terms of hydration is the very first thing that you need to take care when you're going for such trek. We kept few dry fruits and chocolates and that stuff. But in terms of food, we were not carrying much. So basically, we kept some of the basically cup noodles and all that stuff. We assumed that we'll find food on the way. But the food was not that great. Okay. So I think now I get a lot of calls for this trek because this is not really very well covered on internet, so people don't find appropriate information. Yeah. So a lot of people call me to get it. So I emphasize on this fact that, it's extremely important to be careful about food and your drinks. And it's okay to carry extra packets of glucose because you will need them. So we are talking about 17,000 feet trek here. It's not, it's any normal or moderate trek. So you need to be very careful when it comes to your shape of your body, basically. First day is easy. Second day is still, I would say, easy. But from third day onwards, you'll start feeling you'll feel that you're exhausted. So it's extremely important that you take care of your body from day one. Right?
Yeah.
And if you're someone who don't want to stick to timelines, it's highly recommended that you take your tents and sleeping bags with you. And I see that a lot of people do that, actually. And the good part is that at the base camp, in the sense, so Jaung village is the place from where this trek starts. From there, you can arrange some porters for you.
Okay, excellent. And then what about the trekking gear? Is there something specific to keep in mind?
I would say, so basically, if you are a regular trekker, you would know about those gears. And so let me talk about people who have not really done difficult treks, who have done easy or moderate treks. For them, I think in terms of gears, you should certainly have one stick with you.
Okay.
Usually you find different kinds of sticks in adventure shops. Like if you go to Decathlon, you find a lot of such sticks, and at the other side of it, you find different gears. I would say here, simple stick would do.
Okay.
It should be sturdy and stable. That should do. In terms of other things, I think you need to certainly keep your rain suit with you. So basically, the typical day in Shrikhand is like early in the morning. You start in the dark, and when it's like 6:30 p.m. A.m. You see these mountains clear.
Okay.
And by 9, clouds start coming in, and gradually you only see, immediate mountains. You don't see those series of mountains like around you.
Okay.
Wow, that's
And
9 in the morning.
yeah, 9, and by 12, it's like it'll start, drizzling, and by 2 or 3, it'll like shower.
Wow.
I mean, so that's a typical day there. So it's extremely important to take care of, your clothing likewise. So it's important that you keep one not rain
Raincoat,
suit with
yeah.
raincoat, rain suit, I would say, because you also need a lower, appropriate lower.
Okay.
And of course, if you are wearing trekking shoes, that's good enough. Basically, what we did, we took our lighter trekking shoes, which we could, dry over the night.
Right.
So that, because if you are trekking for 5 days, and if your shoes are getting wet every day, it's important that you take those shoes which can get, which you can dry over the night and then start the next day.
Okay, excellent.
I think these are few things. Of course, a hat and a cap is a must, because otherwise you'll get a lot of sunburn. So in terms of sunburn, I think we goofed up big time there, in the sense, 4 boys, I mean, who just joined their jobs and who don't care about their skin and all that stuff. So we had very bad sunburn. So that's one of the important thing to consider when you go on this trek.
This is something people underestimate a lot, right? They think it's the Himalayas, so you don't have to worry so much about the sunburn and all of that. But it's one of the things people realize at a later point that it can hit you hard. So
Sure.
Vijay, that's been quite a comprehensive list of things to do while you're preparing for this great trek. Now, having said that, we're all excited to get on this trek. So take us. You said you started from Delhi, right?
Right.
So take us from Delhi and take us through this enriching pilgrimage and monster of a trek that's called the Shrikhand trek. Let's start with day 1 from Delhi.
Okay. So basically, 3 of us. So we were 4. So 3 of us started from Delhi. We booked Volvo from Himachal Bhavan Mandi House. So there are a lot of Volvos go to Himachal from Mandi House or ISBD Kashmiri Gate. So and this booking can be done through HRTC website or any other bus like Red Bus or the bus booking website.
Sure.
We took the bus and we met one of our friend at Solan, which is close to Shimla, and he was in his Wagoner. So basically, we started in Wagoner from Solan, and we followed the highway which connects Shimla with Spiti. And on the way, there is a place called Rampur. So Rampur is one of the commercial hubs in that region. And there is a left cut just before that town, which takes you towards Nirmand. So Nirmand is a very popular village in this region. In fact, it's known as one of the oldest with high population density village in Asia.
Oh,
so like it's a huge one, and very unique, very interesting architecture of those houses. So essentially, we had to reach Nirmand, and plan was to park our car in Nirmand village and then take some sort of jeep, because the road from Nirmand to Jaun village is not very good, and it's a very narrow road as well.
Excellent. So you started off from Jaun village, what, the next morning, you said?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So from there, the next place for us was, there is a place called Thachadu. So that's a place where we had to reach by 4, so that we book our tent and stay there overnight. And the good part was we were able to, meet those timelines in terms of reaching places, starting early, and finding tents. So we didn't have any problems. But it's extremely important that you plan it well and don't go aggressive over it. If you feel like you cannot reach the next tent location by 4 p.m., find out intermediate place where you can find tents, and it's okay to take another night.
Mm.
Because in these difficult treks, it's extremely important to be a little flexible in terms of time. You cannot say that, I need to finish this trek in like 5 days.
Yeah.
If it becomes 6 days, it's okay. At least you will be able to finish it comfortably.
Absolutely.
But if you try to do it in 5 days, and if you stick to it and avoid other things, that will be a little hard, I would say.
Okay.
So you need to be flexible in terms of planning your days. Yeah.
Awesome. So, tell us more about this day one and what you trekked through when you started off from Jaun village and you headed off towards Thachadu, you said, right?
Okay. So as we started our first day from Jaun, the very first encounter was like the river I talked to you.
Uh-huh.
And so there was one tree. It was, I would say that easily 50 feet long. The width of the river was like 50 feet plus.
Uh-huh.
And it was a very, I would not say thin, but there was a tree which was lying over the river, and everyone had to cross that basically bridge, I would say. I was very scared of that basically. So two of my friends crossed that tree, and one of them was staying with me, and he was just encouraging me that you can do it and all that stuff. So we spent like, I think 15 to 20 minutes there to just cross that place, because actually, till that point, we were very comfortably driving and, enjoying the nature and all that stuff. But during the trek, you come across these situations very often. So, so that was our very first encounter when we felt like, okay, we need to do it. Okay. So then we crossed that. And after that, it was beautiful trek on the very first day, dense forest, a lot of flowers, some local fruits. Being Himachali, I knew about some of those fruits. So we also actually had some of them. And on very first day, you also cross through apple orchards. So basically, there are some villages on the way on very first day where you go through apple orchards. So you can also taste apples. Although in July they'll be like green, so there is no point plucking them. And I urge everyone going there that don't do that. And if they are red, you can request locals. They are very happy to serve you. So I would say that be sensible when you go through that stretch. It's very tempting, but respect that those guys have been putting a lot of hard work on those trees and orchards. So yeah, so that's pretty interesting part. And by the way, these villagers are really very 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 welcoming. You can talk to them. You can they'll offer you like tea and all that stuff. Of course, you will not have time to spend in these villages. Probably you can do that while coming back. Mm-hmm. Going up, I would say that just keep going with your flow. So the very first day is I think a little easy and beautiful. You go through forest, so the feeling is very, very different. Very first day is I think easy, and you really enjoy that day going through those mountains and forest.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
So on your way to Thachadu, what time did you manage to reach Thachadu? You said it was a pretty moderate day of trekking. So what time did you get there?
I think we reached there at around 4:30.
Okay.
We planned for 4, but we were off by 30 minutes. But it was comfortable actually. So we could find a place to stay. We could also find food for free because there was one community serving there. Okay. So yeah. So at Thachadu, it was very comfortable at that point of time. So I would again put this disclaimer again and again because that was 2008. Exactly. There were very few people going there. So don't assume that it'll be comfortable finding place to stay and food there. So
a little bit of research
exactly
is needed.
Required, yeah.
Okay.
Exactly.
Awesome. And you did not have a porter with you at this point in time, right? This is much later.
Yes, we didn't have any porter on the day 1.
Okay, excellent.
Yep.
Okay. Take us from Thachadu now. You spent the night at Thachadu after you completed the first day's trek. So how was day 2 looking like, and where were you headed off to?
Yeah, so from Thachadu we had to reach Kali Ghati, and Kali Ghati was basically I would say in terms of distance, that was less than day one,
Okay.
but it was steep. So far, we were in moderate hills. When I say moderate hills, hills like any hill station you go to, it's just that there were no roads, so you were just trekking,
Yeah.
right? So those were not. So till Thachru were moderate hills with forest and the usual vegetation that you see in any other hill station, sort of thing. Beyond Thachru, you start missing trees. So basically, within half an hour, it's like you don't see trees now. You only see grass and beautiful flowers. By the way, on second day, we saw a lot of flowers. So a lot of people talk about Valley of Flowers and all that stuff.
Right.
Oh my God. Second day was like lot of colorful flowers. There were green meadows, and if you go a little deep into them, you'll see black flowers there. And there is a specific flower that you see throughout your trek. There's something called, so a flower which is dedicated to basically Brahma.
Okay.
They call it some Brahma pool or something like that.
Okay.
And you see that flower throughout your trek, in a sense, for all the 4 days. So on second day, it's more like you start climbing steep mountains which are full of flowers and green grass. And as I mentioned that this was an extremely exhausting day for us. One of us was down,
Right.
and after some time he was able to walk, but we were really we were walking very, very slow. And the doctor was very much right, in a sense. We had to walk slow, extremely slow. Take 10 very slow steps and take a pause and then move on.
Okay.
So the distance, although the distance was very low, but still we reached around 6 p.m. on that day.
Oh.
But we were lucky. We found a place, and actually that was a shared tent. And shared tent, I mean we were in a tent where 10 people were staying. So 4 of us were fitting into a place of one small tent.
Oh my
So,
God.
but that was very interesting experience. I would say that we found interesting people there. We were very low on energy on that day. But when we when we met those guys, we were again at the same enthusiasm. and I would say during these treks, it's extremely important, meeting these people, because you may encounter some situations where your body is giving up, and you also get into that mode, and you also, influence other co-trekkers with you, because they also take care, they also care about you. So they also feel we need to be a little careful about it. And you don't even realize that being careful to, when your tone changes from being careful to a discouraging tone. No.
That's true.
So, right. At that day, we met these guys. So those guys were high on, something. So they were talking about a lot of things. And I would say that it was very interesting night spent at Kalighati. And I think we slept at around 10, and 10 is
Too late.
too late. Because usually we sleep at around 7 or 7:38
Oh my
maximum.
God. Wow.
Right? Because you want to start early in the morning, and of
by
course
3,
there is
4.
nothing else to do, actually, right? What do you do? You can at least you can look at the stars, but for how long, basically, right? So that's how the second day was. In case you guys have any specific question about second day, I think I briefly told about the second day.
Yeah.
So far.
About the views, any views from Kalighati, or is this beyond that you are getting the view of Shrikhand?
Okay. So I think just before that's a very important point. I think I'm missing out the natural beauty part in my conversation. So basically this whole stretch is amazing. Basically on second day you start to feel like you took the right decision and came here. So all these mountains are very, very beautiful, and especially as I mentioned that clouds keep moving around. You experience some drizzle on the way. So overall experience is amazing. That cannot be really expressed in words or something like that. At times I talk to my trekker friends that there should be some sort of device which can capture this environment as well. You can capture photographs, you can capture videos, but you cannot not capture that weather. You cannot capture that smell. You cannot capture that that 3D effect of those things.
Absolutely.
So it's extremely difficult to express those feelings, but you feel like you're in heaven. Heaven is like one word which we exploit a lot, but I think but I think that there is nothing more than that we can express about these things.
Yeah, I think the only way to express it is to go and experience it. I think there's nothing better than that, right?
Absolutely. and just to answer your question, so basically before Kali Ghati, you reach a place which is not a steep climb. So after doing a few steep climbs, you reach a place where you are relatively on a planar mountain. And when you walk through this mountain, after a while you start seeing Shrikhand mountains.
Okay.
But the point is, when we reached that place, there were a lot of clouds, and some localites told us, from this point you can see Shrikhand, but because of clouds you cannot see them. So on day second we couldn't see Shrikhand mountains. But when we came back from the same place, we could see Shrikhand mountains.
Okay. On your way back, this is.
Right.
Okay, cool. So from Kali Ghati, I know you had that long night out almost.
Right.
You slept at 10 p.m. So what time did you start from Kali Ghati the next morning?
So next morning we started at around 5, I think even late, 5:30, I guess, because we wanted to ensure that the guy who was not feeling well, he takes proper rest.
Right.
And we shortened our next day. So basically, as per our plan, we wanted to reach Parvati Bagh, which is the very last point where you stay before hitting the Shrikhand mountain.
Sure.
So instead of going there, we thought of taking a break in the midway. And that place is, so it's Bhimdwari. So Bhimdwari is the place where you see lot of tents. So most of the tents you find in Bhimdwari. And we wanted to skip this place. We wanted to go directly to Parvati Bagh. But we shortened our third day and we went to Bhimdwari. And I would say that this day was like okay for us. That guy was still not feeling well, and we didn't want to,
exert yourselves too much.
Exert too much. So we focused mainly on, proper hydration and food. Luckily, we could get appropriate food that day. In the sense, we found one shop on the way who was making paranthas. It was very difficult for him to bring cylinder and all that, but he was doing that. So we found good food, I would say. And on that day, we simply wanted to reach Bhimdwari and take rest. I think we reached Bhimdwari by like 3 p.m. It was not that far, and it was not like a lot of climbs. So it was you climb one mountain and then you go down. You climb one mountain and then you go down. So basically, so you were not really going down anywhere. You are just continuously climbing. Right. Yeah. On third day, it was mix of climbs and stretches going down.
Okay. And did you get the porter at this point, or was it after this?
Sorry, I missed it. So we could arrange the porter on the second night, basically, and he started with us. Yeah, from Kali Ghati, and he started with us on third day. Okay. So he was with us throughout then.
Okay, that probably helped you a little bit as well, right? In terms of the load.
Right. In fact, he was very helpful in terms of guiding us as well, in terms of, when people start feeling exhausted. Because, see, it's very, these are very standard things for those guys who are living in hills, and they know tips and tricks how to deal with them.
Absolutely.
So he was very helpful in terms of when we should take rest, have some water. We met one. So typically in hills, you find a particular tribe who are seen with a lot of sheep. Okay. Right? That tribe called Gadi. Have you ever seen them?
Seen pictures,
yeah, I think we've seen pictures.
Pictures. Okay.
So and I think even in movie Highway, I see a lot of them.
Absolutely. So basically, on third day, we encountered such tribe on our way. And typically, these guys have like 150 sheep with them, some dogs, a horse. And typically they keep traveling. So these tribes are typically from a particular region in Himachal, and they keep traveling. They make temporary places to stay. Basically, we found one of them, and this local guy could connect us with this person, because they could talk in that language probably. And he served us tea. It was like milk in milk with some tea powder in it, kind of thing. So third day was, I would say, it was more like reaching Bhimdwari. For me, it was very fruitful because this was a stretch when you get brilliant landscapes.
Oh.
Because these mountains are green, full of flowers, and scale is huge. So most of the photographs you see on the blog are from third day, where you see huge green mountains with some, sky and cloud drama over there. So most of those photographs from day 3.
Okay.
Awesome.
Okay.
Awesome.
Yep.
So, from Bhimdwari, you said you started it slow on that day. You reached Bhimdwari at 3 p.m. So, was it mostly just relaxing and preparing for the next day and sleeping early on day 3? Okay.
Yeah. So basically, 2 of us just took rest after 3 p.m. and I just basically roamed around, clicked some pictures.
Nice.
So basically, I spent some time, I think 2 hours roaming around. There were a lot of tents. So basically, I also wanted to cut that clutter. So I had to walk a little away from that place to click some photographs. So I spent some time clicking photographs and then came back to the camp and took some rest.
Amazing.
And from Bhimdwari, what was your next point? What was your next destination, Vijay?
Okay. So next point was Pavati Bagh. Pavati Bagh was a place where we had to stay for 2 nights because basically one night the 4th day night, and on 5th day as well, because on 5th day the plan was to start early, reach Shrikhand Peak and come back to Pavati Bagh.
Okay.
So basically, and Pavati Bagh, at that point of time, there were very few tents at Pavati Bagh because most of the localites, they do this trek in like 3 days, actually, 2 to 3 days, right? So they don't even, stay at Pavati Bagh. They start from Bhimdwari, or I've seen people starting from, Kali Ghati till the Shrikhand Peak and come back. So those guys do crazy things. We can't do that.
Yeah.
So at that point of time, Pavati Bagh didn't have much tents. So I if I remember clearly, there are, I think, 8 to 10 tents only.
No.
So we had to reach on time and find tent. And we were surprised actually when we reached at around, like, I think between 4 to 5, and at till night there were still tents available. So at that point of time, there were very few trekkers, I would say, that going there, and local lights were not really staying at Pavati Bagh. So that was the reason that those tents were free. So it was not a problem to find tent at Pavati Bagh. So I'll quickly talk about day 4 and then I'll move to 5. So sure. Day 4 was mainly about, crossing a lot of mountains with snow. So locally people call it glacier, but of course technically that term is not right. So basically these are stretches where you are at the foothill of these huge mountains, and snow has slipped through those mountains and reached the bottom. Right. So basically these are places where there's a lot of snow, and at times it's very scary. So basically you can imagine, like, there is a snow which is like hard snow, and below it you can see that there is a water stream going down, right?
Wow.
So basically you are crossing these these pieces of these streams essentially, and this strong snow is basically your bridge.
Right. Wow.
Right.
Yeah, that's scary.
It looked scary when we encountered it first time, but then it became a habit. I think we crossed like 7 to 8 such streams on 4th day.
Wow.
So it was very interesting, I would say. So day 4 was more like crossing these kind of streams. We also had these kind of streams on day 3. We had few of them. Yes. On day 3 we had few of them. And if I talk about day 5, so Pavati Bagh is at a place where you only see rocks upwards, and if you see downwards, you see green mountains. So it gives you interesting contrast. And if you see photographs that I clicked at Pavati Bagh, you can see that contrast clearly. There'll be a mountain on the right hand side with green meadows, and on the left hand side only rocky mountains. So on Pavati Bagh we started I think at around 4, and there was a huge stretch till there's a lake called Nanny Lake. It's almost frozen most of the times. So we could see the point where Nanny Lake is from Pavati Bagh.
Okay.
So it was a huge long stretch on a mountain with reasonable, I would say angle. So it was like I think 45 degrees. So it was not that steep, but it was a very long stretch. So we reached, I think, Naini Lake at around 6, I would say, in 2 hours. People find it auspicious. I mean, most of folks who go to Shrikhand Mahadev, they take a dip in Naini Lake, and that was little scary for us, basically. So,
A frozen lake,
that was frozen lake, and you find some ponds of water around it, and people take just, it's not a dip as such, but our porter literally took a dip there. So he found a place in the lake where it was not really very hard ice. So he found a slushy spot, and he literally took a dip there.
Wow,
and
he's a brave-hearted person.
And you can imagine, it was like, in terms of temperature, I think it was close to 4 degrees at that point of time. We were like, so at this point I think I didn't talk about our clothing. So I think from day 3 onwards, we were like 3 layers of clothes. And Parvati Bagh onwards, we had like 4 layers, and face covered with some sort of muffler, hands covered with gloves and all that. So basically we were in that shape, and that guy was taking dip in that
Quite contrasting.
So then we moved on, and my favorite place, we hit this place on day 5, where you, from Naini Lake, you climb these rocky mountains a little, and you reach a place from where you see a series of snow-covered peaks, at the outer ring, and there is a huge, space where you only see clouds.
Wow.
So I call it, cloud store. This is this photograph, and this photograph is published in, I think, I don't even remember the count of, publications. So this photograph is published in various magazines, local newspapers, and international journals. And this is the view which you typically see from aeroplane during monsoons.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay.
So the situation was very, very, very interesting.
Yeah.
So okay, when we moved on and finished this stretch of Rocky Mountains, we were literally on snow, and we were walking on that, and there was one very interesting thing happened, which I'm a person who don't really go to temples and all those things, and so very interesting thing happened in my group, that 2 of the folks got some sort of emotional, strokes, I would say. And one of them started, crying. He was very emotional. We could feel that, he was very emotional. I don't know what happened. And somehow I also related to science in terms of oxygen. I think there was something which was happening in his body, which probably I don't know, basically. But 2 of them were very, very emotional, and they were crying for some time, and when we tried to hold them tight, they were shouting. I mean, they started crying very, I mean, they were very loud at that point of time. So anyways, we had these kind of emotional swings on the way on day 5. And
I think these kind of treks push your limit to the end, and they test you in some way. So
probably. Yeah. I think you are right. I think there are a mix of things. It can also be, you feel like you accomplished something that you had never imagined, right? And frankly, this trek remains special to me because spending a lot of time in cities and our lifestyle is so bad. I feel like if I do Shrikhand again, it'll be like bigger achievement now.
Yeah, I mean, I can completely feel that it's probably a mix of emotions, and that bit where oxygen is less as well, even that probably acts up. And it's not the first time I think I've heard of such emotional outbreaks, right?
Right, exactly.
It's probably a mix of all these things, and it's just the challenge as well, the challenges that you've faced over the past 2 or 3 days. Everything, I think it just comes together in a peculiar way, and you find it really strange.
Correct. Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
So tell us how it was. Now you said you're just about 45 minutes away from the Shivling. So tell us how what the feeling was when you got there, and a little more about the Shivling as well. How tall was it, and were there a lot of people when you got there? What time of the day was it?
Okay, so I think we were there at around I think not in 11, 12, it should be around 1 p.m. And when we reached there were quite a few people there, and there were some sadhus also, and it seems that one of them was staying there for like 1 week, and we were surprised how he's managing that because oxygen and all that stuff, and he had right. And interesting part is that it seems that sadhu does this thing every year, and localites know it. So when these localites go up, they take something for him to eat and drink. So I found it very interesting.
I think it's the faith as well that drives people, like the faith and the dedication. That's amazing.
I think it's also about your lifestyle. Probably these guys spend a lot of time in these terrains, so low oxygen level probably have lesser impact on those bodies. I don't know. I mean, must be right. So there are multiple things. So and when we reached there, most of us were literally silent. We were not talking to each other. We sat down for about 30 minutes, and nobody talked to each other. Actually, nobody talked to each other. And we were just staring at that Shivling. So there is a way to go up to the Shivling. Somehow I didn't feel like going there. So three of the other guys, they went up as well. So basically you can climb that rock as well, basically. So you can go.
And it's pretty tall, right? It's about 72 feet or so is what I've And it's probably a special feeling too, right? Being at the Shivling, because there's a lot of legends as well related to this, from Lord Shiva having spent some time there doing penance, to even the Pandavas, I think, were in exile. That's what the legend is, right? It's absolutely an exhausting and very contrasting trek as well, I should say, from what you've mentioned, from the beautiful trees and the forest that you saw on day one, to things like the meadows, and then rocky mountains, then the snow-covered peaks, then the cloud store, all of that. It's been one hell of a ride. But if I had to call out one memorable moment from this trip, if you just had to close your eyes and think about this trek, what's the one thing that comes up, Vijay?
If I rethink about this trek, I think those clouds, which is difficult for me to explain. I mean, being amongst those clouds was the experience that I would never forget.
Awesome.
Right.
So Vijay, thank you so much for taking us through the trek with you and reliving this whole experience with us. And I wish you all the best, and I hope you get to do this, as you said, with more preparation. You get to do this again and experience this whole feeling of being on that trek and seeing the different sights that you saw. Thank you so much for being a part of the Musafir Stories and sharing this experience. Before I let you go, Vijay, what is a good way for our listeners to keep in touch with your work?
Okay, so first of all, I want to thank you guys a lot, because seriously, this trek is very close to my heart, and I have talked to a lot of folks in the past who plan to go there, but certainly this conversation has literally brought me to that moment when I did that trek, and I'm sure I'll have this hangover for today. so most likely I'll spend some time on Shrikhand photographs today. So hope that I make some good use of this hangover. Anyways, so in terms of how people can connect, I would say that blog is the best way. So TravellingCamera.com, I try to blog here very frequently. So you can expect at least one post in a week or more than that. So blog is best way to know what we are doing, what we are thinking, and all that stuff. And I also I would say that because I have got this platform to speak to a wider audience, I would take this opportunity to say one thing, that although I write about travel and photography, but one thing which is extremely important for me is that whenever we go to places, we explore places, be respectful for them. And I really urge everyone who goes to my blog, who is listening to this podcast, I would say that I would request that be responsible when you go to places, and try to spread awareness, because being aware and being sensitive is something that you can do, but it takes a little more courage to make others aware of things. So I would request that, be sensitive about places, take care of the cleanliness, be responsible. Those things are extremely important. And there are some initiatives that you will find on my blog. If you feel like contributing to them, please feel free to write to me. And I'll be happy to help you out in any way if you can contribute on those fronts. So more than my blog, my traveling and my photography, I think these initiatives are more important for me. And I want that, we keep these places like the same for next generations. It makes me very sad when when I go to places with my parents and then they say that this place was very different 20 years back, and they feel disappointed about that fact.
Right.
If they feel good about it, I would be happy, but if they feel disappointed about it, that's not good state.
That's true.
So it's good to travel. It's good to explore. It's very good feeling to talk to different people. That those experiences are unmatchable. But at the same time, it's extremely important to be responsible and be aware what we are doing and watch our actions.
Yes, that's a wonderful advice, Vijay.
Absolutely. On that profound note, thank you so much for being a part of the Musafir Stories, and I wish you all the best for all the future treks and future trips, and happy traveling to you, Vijay.
Thank you so much, Vijay, for being a wonderful guide. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, guys. It was lovely talking to you.
That was yet another great episode of the Musafir Stories. If you guys like the show, please subscribe to us on iTunes, Audioboom, Stitcher, Pocket Radio, or any other podcasting app that's available on iOS or Android. You could also follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. We go by the handle The Musafir Stories. Or if it suits you, you could email us at themusafirstories@gmail.com and visit our website www.themusafirstories.com for more information. All of these links will be made available in the show notes section of the podcast. So here's to more traveling, sharing, and inspiring. Stay tuned for our next episode. Until then, happy travels and goodbye.